sollte das alles laufen. Ja Leute, TwitchCON, ne, ist auch jetzt so für mich so die letzten Stunden hier. Das ist alles gut. Aber ich habe die Mikrofone sind am Start, ihr hört mich gut, ne, mit dem Ding. Ihr hört dann später die gut mit dem Ding, ne, sollen sie halt hier reinsprechen, da oben. Und dann haben wir jetzt noch ein bisschen Zeit, bis sie kommen. Die waren eben schon hier, haben sie gesagt. Aber so richtig geil. Ich habe jetzt hier halt auch so eine krasse hier Powerbank mir nochmal geholt. 2 Stück von den Dingern. Ey, die nutze ich den ganzen Tag. Und er ist auf 82%. Echt cool. We're here now. Oh, wo? Wo? Ich hoffe, sie sind... Man muss ja mal sagen, zu deren Verteidigung, ne, das hier ist riesig, diese Halle. Die ist riesig. Ja? Da rennst du dir die Hacken um. Das ist Wahnsinn. So ein bisschen ist das hier. Okay, da sind sie. Sehr schön. Mal hier schon mal an. Hello. How's it going? Great. So could you sit here and then we have this little setup, my studio. Stream is live already.
Welcome to my little studio.
Yeah, welcome.
Hey everybody.
Hey Jace. So I got this little mic for you guys, so you can talk into it.
Snutt's little mic.
G'day guys, my name's Jace. I'm here with Snutt and Chuggy.
Guys, it's so good to see you.
Yeah, likewise.
Did you have fun at the TwitchCon?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty good. Met a lot of people, seen a lot of things.
Today-
Gave away a lot of good gifts.
Today a bit rainy, which is fine for me.
Yeah, I mean,
Any rain though.
been inside the whole time, so haven't seen it, and the temperature has been not melting hot.
Yeah.
So that's
Yesterday it's insane, 32 degrees. I'm not used to it at all.
no,
So-
I'm not used to it either. Yeah,
That's weird.
despite being an Australian.
So what did you check out throughout the TwitchCon? Just
Come on here, hello.
Okay.
Come here, buddy. Come on,
Okay.
we're all friends here. What did we check out? So I just met like a bunch of people that I really
Yeah.
wanted to meet. So that was
Yeah,
kind
I
of
see.
cool. Like I was
For the
fangirling
future?
over
Oh,
some people. Yeah, just streamers that I watch. But then just like various booths, and I just like looking at stuff. I like the lights and the different games and whatever.
Yeah.
okay.
It's been-
I think we most have been here to just meet with people and like not like to see anything at the con, really just to be at the con if anything. So
Yeah, to be honest, like the expo is kind of a little bit of I got one.
Did you got one?
Yeah, okay. Not so many booths like in Amsterdam or something, right? So it really concentrates around this theaters and those seminars or something,
Yeah.
the talks, right?
Yeah.
So
If it feels that way, and I'm not sure if it's like that there's not a lot of booths, or if that like the way that everything's laid out, there's a lot of space.
yeah, it is.
So I'm not
It's
sure.
huge.
Or it's
I
like
mean,
yeah.
we needed 5 minutes to find each
Exactly.
other.
Yeah.
Look
yeah.
at this. It's insane. Right?
So it might be like a mix of the both, where it's like there's a lot of space and maybe less booths, but yeah. So
All right. Okay. So the German community is here. We have a bit of questions, not much.
Ooh,
So let's just have just a talk. You know, not really questions answering, but
Yep.
talk about up to date.
all right. Well, we'll spill all the beans.
what an
I'm-
update!
What an
What
update!
a
ride.
Would you say it was the most challenging update up to date?
Well, I would say 3 actually.
Yeah.
It's just folks didn't know about what that process was like.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because like 3, our plan for update 3 was like it was going to come out in like December or something.
and it came out in March.
Like February, March or something
Yeah.
like that. So like we've had like a release not go according to plan before.
I remember you had this video. This video will probably come out in December.
Oh, yeah.
And then you,
No.
Yeah.
as with March.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we recorded that video in like September, and then it came out in March.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. Yeah. So we're no stranger to like the update not going smoothly, but this time it was a different story where we thought we were okay. So we announced update 8. We started the teaser season, and then realized
shit.
things aren't going according to plan. Now we have to tell everyone. But I mean that's okay. That's just game development. It
Sure.
happens, and I think a really good thing is that, because we've been so open with the community, that like when we just explained the situation, most people just understood and they said, okay, do what you got to do.
Transparency is king.
Yeah.
All the time, even in my job, right? Tell the people what's going on and they understand.
Yeah.
And it still was kind of smooth, like even though we weren't releasing when we were supposed to, it's still kind of smooth that like our content that we upload.
And it wasn't delayed by that much.
No.
And like, of course, there's the like stuttering and some like FPS issues and stuff like that, some performance. But aside that, it was actually quite a smooth launch in terms of like crashes and things like that compared to like previous ones. So like, there's like some good sides to the launch and obviously some other
I
parts
think
of it.
also a lot of because we've been focusing more and more on like how to manage our own QA and like how to like verify the games ourselves, not just to rely on like what everyone in community are saying, because that's not really what we want. Like the closer we get to 1.0, we want to be more aware of that ourselves and not rely too much on like feedback from when it comes to like technical issues. And like for this update, I feel like we had a good grasp of everything. Like there weren't too many surprises really. Because like even the stuttering and like the issues with the performance, like that's something that we did talk about early on, that like we expect this to be a thing. So like it's been
this is something, the stuttering, and this is kind of a problem for the people, right? They experienced update 7, everything smooth, people with huge rigs, right? A 4090, and then every 8 seconds you have this micro stuttering and so on. And at least from my perspective in community, I feel their frustration about it, because they have this huge rigs and it's not running smooth, so why? I mean, you followed up, you disable Lumen and so on, right? We have some fixes, or I personally disable the fog via console, which helps sometimes, not all the time. So I guess fog is a good thing. It's kind of foggy what is helping FPS right now, what is more like, hindering? It's
like such a complex issue, because like there's so many variables as to why, and like also when people talk about like stuttering and performance issues, like everyone's kind of talking about different things as well, so like it's...
But they're clumping it up under one word.
Exactly.
Like a stutter to one person is a different experience to another, so that can make it a little vague as well.
But I mean, it's nothing, like we're still in experimental, we're not gonna release the game in that state at all. Like once we...
That's good to know,
for early access, that's not the intent. Like if we need to spend... Because we kind of planned that we kind of might need to spend more time in experimental for this time. And like it might be more than we think, but the idea is like we're not going to release it in the state where like you're still experiencing all these kind of like performance issues. Like that's the whole point of the experimental phase. Is
do you have kind of a timeline for
Not really, no. Really. And I think I don't think we want to set up too much of a timeline, because we want to be able to spend that time fixing that stuff and like getting up to par sort of with update 7, because that's always sort of a worry we have when we release these updates, that we don't want the game to be worse than the previous update. So like, and in this case it's a bigger leap because we're changing the engine, and like there's a lot more like weird issues that we haven't encountered before.
But that's what experimental is for, right?
Yeah, right.
So the people that really rely on early access and they just use early access, you want to make sure that their experience is not going to be worse, but better. And
exactly. Okay. And the thing is, like, releasing it in the state that it is now is still very, very useful for us to push it forward, because like we are very aware that like some people are frustrated with the stuttering and that's like unacceptable. Like we're super aware of that, and we want to take that very seriously. But like we're still putting it out anyway, because like the amount of feedback we get, or when people have stuttering, when they give us information, like all of these things help us solve those issues as well. So like the net positive here is that it's better we put it out as it is an experimental to help us work through it, so that we can get to a better outcome sooner.
So with experimental, you have an army of testers, right? And get the feedback from even the crash reports. Do they help?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, great. So obviously there's always the disable mods thing, right, with the crash reports. But also the crashing, I have some people in my community, they experience it fairly often, but it depends on what they are doing and so on. But the amount of crashes was going up in this update. But
I think in this update also, like I think a lot of crashes are related more so with like graphics cards and like the drivers of graphics cards, more so than previous updates, because like previous updates most crashes are usually related to like game related stuff, like we've messed up with And now I think this update is more like we need to figure out, you know, how to tune the game to the new engine and like make it run. And there's
try and handle the cases where things don't line up with people's hardware kind of thing,
exactly.
to whatever degree we can.
Yeah, and I know there's some things where Epic has done some work on that as well. So like when we get back from vacation, one of the first things we're going to look into is like if it's worth trying to upgrade to 5.2, new engine version.
Really? Okay.
To see if like that actually alleviates a lot of issues, or if we're going to try and like grab, you know, from 5.2 and try to like...
Is 5.2 really, I mean, obviously better in development than 5.1, but you expect a few
because it's like
bugs?
It's like a second loop of feedback. It's like Epic put out 5.1 and then they get a lot of feedback on like those type of issues, and then we're putting it out in 5.1, so like we're also getting that extra feedback. And,
my understanding that it was one of those situations where 5.1 was out, we're like, this looks pretty good, we'll take it, and then like while we were doing it and implementing it, 5.2 would come out, and they're like, holy crap, that actually does a lot. But like we didn't know because we were in the middle of doing 5.1. So that's why there's like a pretty decent like consideration for 5.2 being a solution for some things. But we'll have to see. The team has
But the switch from 5.1 to 5.2 is not really something that is kind of like the switch from 4 point something.
No.
It's smooth. It's just a little version of up.
We say smooth. You never know.
Okay,
yeah. So I'm sure it'll have some roadblocks, but nothing like it probably won't come with as many unexpected things as the jump from 4 to 5 did.
Because like the jump from 4 to 5, they really deprecated a lot of stuff like in how the internals work, because they've changed systems that they think are better, and we had to re-implement all that stuff.
Because you used a lot of that deprecated stuff?
Well, I mean, everyone who used 4 used a lot of that deprecated stuff. And then we've altered the engine quite a bit ourselves, and like all those alterations that we've done, we've sort of needed to re-implement them a little bit in the new engine, because like things are a little bit different, but pretty much the same. And some things that we've made are custom ourselves, now Epic have like in the engine, but then you know, we need to like match sort of how we've implemented it versus like how they've implemented it. So like we've had to rework a little bit how it works and refactor it. So there's been a lot of that, and you know, when you do that, you're gonna run into like weird new issues that previously worked, but
it's a hamster wheel. I mean,
And I think from 4 to 5, there's a lot more of that than there is in like with these smaller
5.1 to 5.2, because the 5.2 will largely be the same tech as 5.1, just with some fixes or improvements.
I'm reading some questions here. In one stream you said with the engine change there came bugs that doesn't have anything to do with the engine. Was there one that gets you all to laughs? So funny bugs.
Stu probably has some good.
Like funny bugs that we got from the new engine, or we're in the game already?
With the engine change, new engine.
Like I think one thing that was kind of goofy was the fact that because like the whole physics engine is deprecated in 5. So like we used to use physics, and now Unreal or Epic had made their own like physics engine that's called Chaos, and that's also sort of in development, but it's still like production ready, essentially. And when we moved everything to use the new physics engine, like a lot of goofy shit happened, like a lot of the vehicles broke and we had to re-implement the vehicles completely. A lot of the automation for vehicles specifically, there'd be cases where in my save file I had like a bunch of tractors running around automated. Like they'd be automated and then suddenly, because they're on foundation floors, and suddenly they would just like dive into the foundation and then come back again and like do that over and over again.
Oh my god, weird.
Yeah, because like something with the physics didn't read well, so it thought like, oh, I'm supposed to be on the ground. No, I'm supposed to be up here. Now I'm supposed to be on the ground. Like stuff like that. I know that the hypertube cannons were a lot more broken than like. I know that the hyper cannons physics have changed now, but you can still sort of implement them. But before they were like hella broken.
I have to redo my tutorial because I had this, this loop.
Yeah.
And depending on where you enter, you get shot out in another direction.
Yeah.
And this is not really working anymore. But I have to check it out.
Yeah.
This one time where you spawned a lot of those creatures and you couldn't move.
Oh yeah, there was a bug where the vehicle spawn system. I don't remember exactly how it works, but it's something where like it checks in the vicinity how many have spawned, and like if there's no beam in this area, for instance, then like, oh, I'm supposed to spawn one. Like that system didn't work, it thought there was nothing, so it kept spawning beans over and over again, and like it just kept like spawning the beans within each other, and the beans have like a collision thing where like they bounce from each other, so like they would just like create this huge collision at some point.
Do we have any footage of that, Barry?
We do, because like when I was making when we were making the first teaser, which we dropped because we ran into so many issues, in one of the shots I'd set up like a water pressurizer thingy, and in the background there's just like beans popping in constantly.
How do you do those shots? Do you have some developer tools where you put the camera at some point?
Yeah, Epic has it's called a sequencer. It's like a tool they use, because like a lot of Unreal Engine is used a lot by the film industry. So there's a lot of TV production and films that are using Unreal Engine to create like their pre-renders and stuff like that.
I see. Okay.
So they have like a fully fledged out like rendering system.
Because I have Fixit Cam.
Yeah,
Right? Those
it's
mods.
essentially that.
Yeah,
but it's baked into the engine, sort of,
right,
and you have a lot more tools that are like continuously.
And
built
more
by
specifically,
Epic.
we have the cinematic camera with those as well, which is just like another camera that has like extra rendering options on it to make things look a little bit more pretty.
Which the Fixit Cam uses.
So they use that?
So Fixit Cam like loads in the cinematic camera and like get access to like all those.
Oh, sick.
Because you can have like depth of field and like better motion blur and higher fidelity like anti-aliasing and stuff like that.
But you have to animate the Pioneer yourself, right? If the Pioneer is doing some kind of moves, that's something that you need to do beforehand. And
that's all custom.
All custom.
And also Epic added like a system, so now you can actually do that animation in Unreal Engine. Because it used to be that you did that animation in Maya or like some other 3D
Blender or something.
Yeah, and then you import that and into Unreal, and then like it doesn't work. You have to go back to Maya and So with 4.6, which was when we did update 6. They added a system so you can like, it's called Control Rig, which was a feature of update Unreal Engine 5, but you could add it to previous engines, which made it possible to like animate within. And that's what I used when I made the update 6 trailer. Like all the animations that are linked in the start of that trailer, that's all done by me, and that's all animated in Unreal Engine.
Takes a huge load of work of you then, right?
Yeah, and then we don't, because usually we have the animator do that all that work, and now I could do it instead. So it's like a huge benefit for us because we can do stuff at the same time instead of having to wait for him to do all the animations.
For the teaser season, how long do you take animating or producing one minute teaser? I mean, depends, but in-game footage.
It takes, I mean, we've had, I think the longest it's taken us to make a teaser is like 3 weeks.
But the shows is like a day.
Yeah. But it's, I mean, sometimes we've done it with like, let's do a teaser next week. And then we start working on it for a week. We also had like our trailer guy, like Linus, who used to help out a lot with editing before. Like
capturing footage.
Yeah, he used to do a lot of the teasers in like up until like update 5 or something like that. And he would, get a week and like get a teaser out. And sometimes we do teasers where we do a little bit more in depth. So like I think the teasers we did for this time is like roughly 2 weeks. Full time.
Full time.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay. Just reading something. Will the game become even more performance heavy, and will older systems with older GPUs no longer be able to process it in the future? Innovations are good and necessary, but are you thinking about the majority of players who unfortunately don't have the possibility to upgrade their system regularly?
I think we are thinking of that because I don't think our intention is to repeatedly upgrade the system requirements habitually. This is the only time it's happened so far, and given that the game has been in develop for I don't know, 7 years. I think it's kind of reasonable that okay, it's happened here for this other trade-off, right? Yeah. But I totally understand where people are coming from when if their hardware doesn't work anymore. That's not.
In my community, I have to say, I have let's say the age median is kind of let's say between 40 and 50, and maybe some people. They buy a personal computer 10 years ago, right? And this is mostly where this comes from, because they don't. if they want to upgrade their GPU, they also have to upgrade everything else, right?
Yeah,
which is a huge investment, right?
Yeah.
And but yeah, like you said, it's the only time you jumped or you raised the requirements, and the older GPU is not even being manufactured anymore, right?
Or they're not being updated.
Okay.
There's no drivers being made for them and things like that.
The 750 or something,
exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And I mean,
760 maybe, I think.
Yeah, and it's like a similar thing where like we used to support Windows 7, but then Microsoft are no longer supporting Windows 7. So like then it's like, is it reasonable for us to also keep maintaining like that version of the game?
Yeah, because it might mean that like we would have to make certain concessions that like anyone else who's like in that case using anything beyond Windows 7, like they can't get certain things because of So it's like you have to sort of like weigh it all up basically. The other thing to consider as well is that like the minimum GPU that we had listed before was not something that we ever put any thought into. It was like, we have this lying around, so we're just going to go with it. So now that's sort of our bad. Maybe it would have been better for us to like put a bit more thought into what we decided on initially. But like now that we're putting thought into it, we sort of determined that like not only do we require something better if we're going to move to Unreal Engine 5, but also that was an unreasonably low recommended thing to set.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, you can still run the game on less hardware. It just may not perform super well, but we always like to think that like the minimum spec should be that you can have some like reasonable experience with the game. So that's why we wanted to set it to sort of this bar. Because we've had people before playing Satisfactory on integrated cards, which obviously you're not going to get the greatest experience, but like it ran for them, and they were like, hey, I don't have like a great graphics card, at least it runs and I can play at 15 FPS.
For some people it's all about the automation recipes, you know,
and it works for them. And they're just happy. So in this case, I'm sure there are many cards that are below the minimum spec that will still run if people want to do it, but
There's also like our game is DRM free, so like if people are playing it right now in update 7 and they don't want to upgrade their hardware and they feel like I can't play the game in update 8, like it's gonna be possible still to like just save the game as you have it right now on your hard drive and just copy it somewhere. And if you want to boot up like the old update 7, obviously we can't update that version anymore, but like
that version
it will still be playable for people, if they feel like they get.
That's good information. Some people don't realize because you buy it over Epic or Steam and it gets automatically updated.
Yeah.
But if you can just copy the directory somewhere else and then play it.
That's totally fine.
All right. By Axial, first of all, Jace, I want to wish you good luck for the future and thank you for your work for the community. As for your question, does your work also involve watching other creators or small streamers, or do you do it voluntarily to get ideas to improve the gameplay? And is your team still motivated to work on the same game for multiple years?
So a lot of questions. So in terms of like checking out creators, I mean, there's one part of like our week where it's like we always go and look for someone new, and that is like around the dev streams, right, where we do a content creator highlight and things like that. So then in those cases we're actively looking, but like, but I think we also just like check into like various things.
It's been a pretty big part because like we kind of shift like like not priorities, the workload essentially. Like it's been a big part from my workload at least to like hang out on streams and check out people and like. No matter, like I usually just every day I just open up the Satisfactory category tab and just like click on anyone really, regardless if they're English or whatever language they speak. I just hang out and check them out. So it's been a big part for my like work day-to-day workday like to do that, and I hope I can keep doing it.
And I think in terms of like watching streams to like improve gameplay, I don't know if like we necessarily get like a bunch of ideas from watching streams, but sometimes like around updates when we check out streams, we see what people struggle with, and like then that's like we see them struggling with it live, and we're like, okay, we can see this problem, we can see this problem, we can see this, and so in that case it's like really good feedback in that regard. And then in terms of the motivation, I mean, that differs from person to person.
Sure.
Yeah, so like some people are still really motivated. Some people are kind of like, oh God, like I've been doing this for quite a while. I mean, everyone's different. Everyone's motivated by different things.
Sure.
And yeah, so it's sort of like there's no like one answer. It's very wishy-washy. Yeah. So like in my personal case, so first of all, thanks for the kind words and support. But in my case, like I'm more motivated by some other things now, and so I'm gonna pursue those myself.
Sure.
You know. And yeah, so it's just different from person to person.
All right. Okay. So, question for myself. So the from content wise, right? In the updates, update 5, I guess, was the most packed with, I guess, was it drones and all those.
It was a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it was a lot
drones
of stuff.
was in 5.
Drones was in 4.
No, 4.
Oh, 4?
Drones
Yeah.
was 4.
And but 5 was,
Soft clearance, signs.
was it
Little
also
recipe
nuclear
changes, I
waste reprocessing, or was it
That
also
was
in
4.
4?
That was
Okay,
4.
then
Also
I'm
the
mixing it up with 4.
Yeah, I mean we do that too all the time. Like, it all blends together.
There's so many updates. So,
Yeah.
and people are saying, okay, so now you look at 6, 7, 8, and from a content perspective, especially 8, we have some new stuff like the electric wire thing and the priority switches, but it's in comparison to 4, feels a bit less.
Yeah, and the reason for that is because we decided that we want to, like, we can keep working on this game forever, and it's a typical thing in game dev where, like, you have to put your foot down and say, no, we have to finish the game, because you can keep working on it forever. Like, a game is done when you say it's done. It's not done because X, Y, Z.
There are
right?
enough ideas in the room now.
So we decided at, like, I think it was November of 2020, where we were like, we have to shift focus of how we develop the game if we're ever going to reach 1.0 in like a good state.
Yeah.
So what we've done sort of is, like, half of the team are working on 1.0 content, and half of the team are working on, like, fixing systems, upgrading, like, the engine was one part, fixing stuff that we wanted to add in previous updates, but we didn't have enough time, or we ran into other issues. Like the priority power switch and all that stuff, that was stuff that was supposed to come way earlier. They were supposed to be part of earlier updates, which is we didn't have time at those places. Like, I think we leaked the priority power switch
we leaked it in some screenshot or something.
So that was scheduled for that. So, like, we have been working on a lot of content, but we're doing the thing where, like, we don't want to show it off too soon. We want to wait until 1.0. We've been working while the only thing you guys have seen are the stuff that going is, like, into these updates, and that's half of the workload sort of that we spent.
Yeah.
And
But
meanwhile,
we know that there are a bunch of stuff that's in the game, or that has been done that isn't really.
So
out there.
we can look forward to a lot of more content to 1.0.
Yeah, there's going to be new content.
There's going to be new stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also it's just wanted to, like, follow on what he was saying, but, like, can you hold this for one moment because I need to use my hands for this. But it's also a natural progression of, like, if we're making our game in the beginning, that, like, the feature set goes wider, but then as we close to a specific point, it gets, like, less because we're roping everything back in and we're not adding new things. We're trying to hit one specific point now instead of just create a bunch of stuff. So I think that's, like, also just a natural thing with 1.0. Like, as we get closer to it, there's less room to wiggle and expand because we're going for one specific target. But there is a bunch of extra stuff that is intended to come. But like these
that's
updates,
what the people want to hear.
But the updates that we're doing now, they're like, maybe we could try and, like, group them so that they look bigger. But the updates we're making now are just updates that are most convenient to help us push the game forward. Like, we just have to release these now so that they're out of the way, they're in the wild, they're being tested, they're being iterated upon, so we can do the next thing. And so these updates are just, like, what we need to get out so we can keep moving. Yeah. I can take this back now.
Oh, okay. You want to be
I want to be Mike Man.
Okay.
Because, for example, new productivity buildings, like, or new recipes, new items, some new stuff to produce, right?
Yeah.
To make. For example, in tier 9 or 10, if that's coming.
Tier 15 is going to be wild.
Tier 15. I knew it.
We're skipping straight to 15.
I knew it. You won't say anything, but okay. Yeah. But I guess people are at least, I mean, you kind of leaked at some point tier 9 could be a possibility, tier 10 not so much. But I guess the majority of people are looking forward to, expand the factory aspect of the game, building more recipe and so on. So but good to know.
There will be more things. There's more new stuff.
There's also
more stuff.
But also important to remember, like, we are closing in on finishing the game. So, like, it's almost complete. So, like,
And at some point, like you said, you have to close it up, right? And then it is. Do you have any plans on? I mean, this question came a lot for the next game for Coffee Stain.
No plans. I don't think.
Ideas, maybe?
I don't know.
I mean, I think there are some people that have certain ideas, but I think at this stage, it's like it's really, really not productive for us to, like, delve down those. So some people might have some ideas, but it's not necessarily, like, in my opinion, I don't think it's great for a couple people to come up with ideas now for what we might do. It would be better for us to, like, finish what we're doing and then get everyone together to come up with new ideas, because then we're going to get a wealth of like ideas from different people from different places. Because like right now while we're working on Satisfactory, I almost said Final Fantasy. While we're working on Satisfactory,
Maybe you stick around when we're working on Final Fantasy.
yeah, there's like a lot of people who could have like a lot of good ideas, but they're focused on what we're doing right now. So it's just better that like right now we just need to focus what we're doing, make sure everything is good, and then after that we can like look to do what we want to do. Yeah.
And you don't want to split the attention, right? So
Well, it's also like
not really, yeah.
it's like also the process of coming up with new ideas. It's like not just like
It's better as a big collaboration.
And you can have a lot of loose ideas, but you need to like delve into like and workshop them and like prototype stuff and like try things out, or and that takes a lot of time and effort, and that's not something that is good to take away from the main game right
Yeah.
away.
So when Coffee Stain Studios moved on from Goat Simulator, there was a point where we're like, okay, now this studio is no longer working on Goat Simulator, and we have nothing else to make. So the entire studio, game jam stuff, make stuff, group up with whoever you want to group up with. Whoever has ideas, start making pitches. We'll pitch it to the company. We'll vote on things that seem exciting. We'll do prototypes. We'll all play it together, see what sticks, what doesn't stick. And like that whole process of getting everyone creatively involved was super valuable for us to come up with so many different ideas. And we came up with so many really, really good ones. Satisfactory ended up being the winner because no one could stop playing it, like even in the little prototype. But it was because we had the whole studio working together that we had that smorgasbord of like different options of different ideas we could pursue. And if we only had a couple people doing it, or ideas that someone came up with 3 years before while we were working on Goat Sim, I don't think we would have come up with as rich ideas as we did.
how long did this phase last where you did those ideas?
Ooh, that was
Half a year? 1 year?
It's a bit tricky because like I was actually working on a different project that was going forward, and I worked on that for quite some time. While Satisfactory was also being worked on.
But
so
as a programmer then?
as a programmer and game designer, I was
game
doing it.
designer.
Yeah.
All right.
So that game we ended up sort of like cutting and canceling eventually, and then I moved over. Me and the others moved over to Satisfactory. But so that process, I mean, it was a few months, I want to say, like maybe 2 or 3 months. But then like after that, like I worked on the other game for quite a long time, like maybe half a year or a year or something like that, and then moved over to Satisfactory. So it's kind of hard it depends where you draw the line, but a lot of people really loved Satisfactory, and most of the studio went to that. Yeah.
I mean, it is a good game.
It is. I mean, it worked out really well, obviously.
yeah.
So.
Let's see. Will 1.0 also answer why the particle collider has a fluid input?
We'll see what happens there. I actually don't know because it might be the case actually where we're like, oh, we have ideas to add fluid to the particle accelerator, and then like now as we're, thinking more about it, like maybe it doesn't make sense to have fluids in there. But I don't know, or maybe we'll add fluids. I actually don't know what the plans are there, because like I think a lot of times we set out to do one thing, and then we have grand schemes like we'll fix it later down the line, and then as we keep developing, we're realizing like, oh, that didn't work out.
That didn't work out. Yeah,
So like the fluid input, for instance, from the particle accelerator might be one of those things. It might not be. It might also be that we actually do add fluids like to it. It was So it's hard to say.
Okay.
I actually don't know what the plans are for that. So
I know all the plans actually.
Okay. You just went,
No.
Dude, okay.
No one tells me anything anymore. I'm leaving. They're like, don't tell him. He's
Yeah.
gonna take the information. I'm kidding.
Yeah, he's
No
gonna
one says
run
that.
with it.
He's gonna run with it.
Run. Okay. The story, right? The story will come in 1.0. Will the map be part of the story? And I'm not talking about the Mercer spheres and everything, which is spawnable objects, but the map itself, because those structures which leak a bit of this hexagon structure, right? And everybody's like, okay, what is this? Is this artificial? I don't know. So the question is the map part of the story at this point?
Interesting observation. Next question.
I basically don't really want to say too much about that, but I mean, we've seen people talk.
Stop stream.
No, we've seen people like talk and hypothesize about those like hexagon shapes or whatever. And I mean, the only thing I'll say is that like, I mean, those were intentionally made for one reason or another. And so like,
and how did the water come up to the waterfall?
Exactly. In the Spire Coast, right?
That's the hard-hitting question.
Through the hexagon shapes.
Could be. So
okay, interesting.
So I mean, those were a decision that was made. So.
So we have a lot looking forward to the story that will come, and the Sam Orr and everybody. Once the stream, I get the question: when do we get to use Sam Orr?
And that's all 1.0. But like, I don't think people should expect like Call of Duty campaign story,
Yeah.
you know, kind of like it's gonna be like the story
Final
is
Fantasy.
Yeah, right.
whatever,
Like
yeah.
the way we see it is like story isn't really the main part, like, or a campaign isn't really the main part of Satisfactory. The main part is factory building and like doing like, and our intention is that you can play the entire game and ignore the story completely if you want to, if you're just into the factory like aspect. But there's gonna be something. It's gonna be like more to the
Backseat
sideline.
kind of thing?
Yeah,
Yeah,
backseating,
yeah,
but there's gonna
secondary.
be like lore and like.
Yeah, and like we had considered like a more involved process with the story as well, but like I think at the end of the day that becomes just a bit too much of a trade-off where it's very clear that people love playing Satisfactory for making factories, and that if we start trying to like force the story saying, hey, this is important, stop what you're doing and do the story, then it starts taking away from the factory experience, which is just like, it's just not the most important part, and we think that the game would suffer if we tried to force the story too hard.
Like,
so we really want the story to not get in the way of the core game, which is already proven to be so fun for so many people.
Or like if you're really enjoying the process of like building certain chains and like getting to nuclear or whatever, like that there's like this roadblock of like, oh, but you have to complete this story aspect before you get to that point,
kind of
which
weird.
is like, it might ruin the experience for a lot of people. So we wanted to more be like an optional thing, but like,
This is also why I feel it was a really good decision to have the passive mode, right, and turbo fuel and the compacted coal to be researched instantly with if you have a hard drive, right?
Yeah.
Because this would be, I mean, not really a roadblock. You can also have power generation by normal fuel, but I tend to have coal and then jump straight to turbo fuel, or maybe a little bit of fuel, but then this. And I'm not the guy that runs around and kills creatures, so hard drive hunting. I know why that isn't, because otherwise we wouldn't explore the map. I guess you would just be in your corner. For example, the desert, which is my favorite starting spot. It's very, it's good. And you wouldn't explore, which is a shame because Hannah did so much great work with the map. So I understand why. What I don't understand, or not really know the reason why, is why so many different ammunition types right now.
I think it's just to add like options,
like
for those
variety, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
because I think actually more so from our point of view is like, maybe it's not so much that like when you're firing that ammunition type, I think it's more about like setting up automation for those ammunition. So maybe it's a little bit backwards where like people might find it more interesting to set up the automation for that stuff, but not actually use it. But I think from our perspective, it's really like we just wanted to give people options. It's more about like the variety rather than like one being better than the other. And like if people aren't, and that's intentional as well from our part, is like if people aren't interested in that aspect of the game, that's completely fine, because it's not, there's different player types. And
I think it's just one of those things where like, we added combat in the game, but it was like it really wasn't like supported much or given sort of any sort of depth at all. And so this is just like our attempt to like providing a little bit more there, just to
iterate
prop
on
it
it
up a little bit more.
Also, great job on the liquid biofuel. I mean, if you use it in the jetpack,
it's so nice.
It changes the world.
Yeah.
I mean, you can fly, right? If you use belt acceleration and then the jump with the Blade Runners, it's forever. It's really great.
I think it's incredible.
Finally a purpose for this.
I know, right? So and we could have just removed it and be like, oh, that's it. We really
I found a purpose.
It's a really interesting purpose too. Like I feel like it's not a non-intuitive one. Like how do we find purposes? Oh, I know, put it in the jetpack. But it actually works really well. It's like, oh yeah, cool, I'll make it now. And hello.
Yeah, because I use it, and this is the first time that you really think about, okay, how can I automate liquid biofuel at some point? So there's a question, first of all, on the lava planet, there were some little buildings. If you zoom in with the photo mode on the lava planet.
Oh, the planet, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
Good observation.
Enough said? Okay.
True.
True.
Actually, correct. That is true.
You guys, okay. I can't get anything out of you. I mean, okay.
We've been doing this for years.
Yeah, I know. You're the stone-faced. Okay. But at some point, I guess they vanished in the last update. Is there a reason? Or is it just a bug?
Good question.
That is a good question.
Yeah, that is a good question, actually. I don't know.
There's actually part of me that wonders if they were supposed to be there. To begin with.
Well, no, I know they're supposed to be there.
Okay,
I wonder if they intentionally got removed. It's like we mess up all the time when you do stuff.
I've never messed up.
No.
But somebody put those buildings on there, and they're like,
Yeah.
I don't know if somebody notices. Because I mean, it's okay. It makes sense in terms of if you think about the story, right? There's another planet. It's just you see some constructor thing there. It's now a lava planet. So what's gonna happen to this one? So
Maybe you're just lava planning it up. Who knows?
I've seen the lava planet up.
Yeah.
All right. So Jace, you're leaving Coffee Stain, and Snutt, you're in one-person short now.
Yep.
So is there? Are you already looking for? I won't say replacement, but for more help.
Yeah, we have a open position for another community manager, and like you say, like we are replacing you theoretically, but I don't think we're like looking for someone to be another Jace.
Yeah,
I think
They just have to have a really good Texan accent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna do the best we can with what we have, and like that's sort of what we've always done. It's like we do what we can with what we have.
Sure.
And maybe we'll do something completely like maybe it'll take our sort of community management in a completely different direction. We're still gonna keep the same mission statement, because I still very strongly believe in like the goals that we've had with like being open and try to humanize both developers but also people playing our games. Sort of create that bond and be very open about what we do, and also like have fun and entertain and like not focus so much on like
because I feel in the gaming industry you are really admired for the job you do with community management and the how you do it, right? With the strong bond with the community, being transparent, also about the development process and giving insights into it, so that people can understand why things are happening and why is it progressing like this. And this is, I never experienced something like that before with all the other games. So I'm not imagining Electronic Arts doing it, right?
I guess they won't, but could they? I think they could.
They could.
They
just need to
right?
put their mind and get community management to a point where it's really recognized as being very essential to a game, right?
Yeah. It's hard to know if we're in a particular spot where we're able to do that, but I don't think that's the case. I think it's just like this sort of standardized how you do community management, but I don't think it necessarily always works out in the best way, just doing it in one specific way.
I think that there's been like a lot of like this weird emphasis on community management to be this like faux marketing department sort of thing, where it's about like getting engagement, getting numbers and all that kind of stuff. And Snutt and I think we just don't look at it that way. We just think of like community management being, we have this community of people and we have to just care for them. That's it, right? Like it's not about like how do we desperately get new people in? It's just like, how do we care for the people who are already here? They've already paid money, they're like hanging out in Discord, they're investing their time and their effort into the community. Like, how do we just keep giving back to them and caring for them? What do they want to know? If we're giving information about like delays, well, it makes sense for us to try and explain how delays can occur, because like then they can just understand better, so it's I don't know, like to Snutt and I think it doesn't feel like anything special or like rocket science. To us it makes perfect sense, everything we say. But then we'll look to like other places, and it seems like community managers or community management in those other companies just have like different goals to us. And
I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of like us versus them mentality as well, with like sometimes where it's when developers see us like, oh, we're going to communicate to our audience and we're communicating to them rather than with like like such a strange I don't know.
It's like, how do we sort of like navigate the mob? But that's not how we look at it.
It's like the relationship between developers and community that I think has always been a bit strenuous. And I know there are community managers out there that sort of share our idea for this and like try and...
But also feel trapped by the company that they work for to do it a certain way.
I remember the Fall Guys community manager. He was really great. He really put an effort into it and was really refreshing, right? To have it.
But it's really genuine.
But I also think that it depends on the game, right? You cannot do this for like Final Fantasy 16, which you drop with the whole story and everything ready because people want to experience it and don't have spoilers before. And now with Satisfactory, you have this early access phase. And so
I would sort of say yes or no.
Yes and no,
the context is different, and so the outcome will be different. But I think the underlying philosophy can still be the same, right? Sure. So like I get the feeling like Snutt and I have talked about this, is like, can we only do this because our game is in early access? But I don't think so. Like if our game just came out done, then like how long we could create content for about it that's relevant, or what kind of content we would create might be different. But what we what our considerations are the same. Like who's playing, what do they need to know, what would they find interesting, how can we like relate to them, how can we like make them feel heard and comfortable, that like we're actively working on the game, we're actively listening to them. How do like there are so many people who are creating fan art and screenshots. How do we prop those people up? How do we like encourage content creators? Like all of this still remains, whether the game is early access or not. It may not be a 4 or 5 year campaign, but and you know it may affect what kind of content you make. But if like all those ideas just come from the same philosophy anyway. So I think if you took us and put us in a different context, we would probably just still function anyway. And just think about, well, what do we need to tell people? And we just tell them. So.
And as you said, it's not like a marketing department, and the numbers, right? They will come if you provide value to the community from your job.
That's what we believe.
That's what we believe.
And then the rest is, you know, it's
becomes
content
like
creation 101. Sorry.
And then it becomes like an upward spiral where, like, because we're providing that value, then people find value in other things.
And I think it's very clear from the community management that Snutt and I have done that, like, and as you were just saying yourself, like it's so refreshing to have like actual human beings from a studio, right? And so in some ways, I give ourselves credit because I think we've done a good job. But also, I think it just shows that the expectations in this realm is on the fucking floor. So like, because I don't think we did anything that amazing. I think anyone could just talk to the camera. Well, not literally anyone, but like there are many people who could do it.
And even if you're not talking to a camera, there's still many other venues where you could still communicate.
If Discord, you know, enough channels, open Discord and so on, and your Q&A side.
So,
talking about the Q&A side, if you got an idea for an Easter egg, where to post it, it's nonsensical to post it openly on QA side.
Yeah, right. I can understand that it is nonsensical to put on the QA site because why would you put an Easter egg on a public place, right? But not everyone is on the QA site, so you should just put it there anyway, so it gets to the team. And the people on the QA site might get spoiled about it, but there are the other 99% of players aren't on the QA site and won't see it anyway. So like, I would say just do that anyway. I think that's the best place personally.
Yeah, I think so too. And like, drop it anywhere. Really.
And with update 8, you kind of revamped, or the approach for the Q&A side, you kind of got a new one, right? So you just try to get more out of the Q&A side, and I don't know if you changed the appearance, but it was more that you can get more value out of it?
Yeah, so actually the progress on that has been very slow.
Yeah, it's like it's a little bit of I wish honestly we want to spend more time on, like, because for us it's like we get a lot of value out of the QA site as it is right now. I think it's a little bit of like we're happy with the QA site as it is from our perspective. I think it's frustrating for you guys when you're using it, and like
sometimes
the way we've seen it for a long time is like, but we get so much out of it, like why do we need to update it and like change it? But like a lot of people use it for stuff that's not, you know, just giving us feedback. They're using it to find out about how to resolve things, or, you know.
So we should be like updating it as much as we can, and updating statuses and things like that. That way people see that their posts are being seen. That's the tricky thing. Your posts are being seen, but that's not being communicated to the users at all, and that is like a big letdown. And so we've been trying to roll that ball since I made that one video talking about it, right? We've been trying to roll the ball, but we keep kind of just running through roadblocks and the ball stops, and it has been, personally, I wish the progress in that area would have been further down than where we are. So I'm a little disappointed in that, one regard. But I think the interest to keep doing that is still there, and hopefully it'll get there eventually. I mean, there's a lot of things that when we work on, sometimes things just don't go smoothly and take a little longer. But I think there's like an interest from anyone you ask in the company to improve it. It's just we haven't executed on it very well yet.
And it, like, there is progress, but it's so slow. Sometimes. And it goes back and forth a little bit.
Are you developing the Q&A side from within the company, or do you have one guy?
That's what we did before, and then the dude who worked on it left. And then
with his knowledge, right?
And then we try to like pick up the pieces here and there and try to resolve some things.
We sort of got someone.
And then we sort of had someone to work on it, and then we're not sure if that's going to work out.
And then it didn't work out, and then everyone was like, I don't know what to do, and then like time just goes by. They're like, hey, we haven't done anything yet, so it's just like a bit of a bit of a mess, but
Okay.
That's what it is.
Speaking of a bit of a mess, dedicated servers.
Right here.
Oh yeah, dedicated servers. Yeah.
I mean, best segue, but
no, that is a good segue actually.
No, so right now, of course, priority is on getting the game stable and the road to 1.0. But a lot of people, of course, are using and buying and renting servers to play on. I mean, it's also a bit of the let's say from those companies who are presenting those servers. Like you can, I mean, they work, but the performance at some point will just crash, right? Around oil, right? So and the plans, of course, is developing first 1.0 and then focus on dedicated, or getting it together?
Dedicated servers are sort of their own development path. So we don't anticipate to be dedicated with dedicated servers while we're done with 1.0. It might happen. It might happen earlier. It might happen later. They're sort of on separate tracks. And it is frustrating because one of the reasons why we didn't release dedicated servers for so long is just because it feels bad for us to release them in a half-finished state. But because everyone was so on us about please release dedicated servers, please.
We figured
okay,
it's better than nothing if they come out as they are.
And it is frustrating for us because the people that have worked on dedicated servers before, they really want to work on dedicated servers, and they're really passionate about it, and they have ideas on what to do. Not just there's a couple of features that we want to get in, but also just general performance and that they work.
I think it is just a situation of things just didn't go according to plan. I think we were hoping, if you asked us a year ago, we would have expected dedicated servers to be better than they are right now. But then it just didn't work out, right? But we feel the feedback that people give about they want more with dedicated servers. There's a strong internal interest to improve them as well. We just have to keep trying to force it to make it happen, but I think it will happen.
And we do spend some time where we shouldn't have spent that time on fixing certain things, but we still feel we gotta fix at least the major issues. There was a lot of issues when we launched update 7 as well, where we don't really have time to work on dedicated servers, but holy shit, this is a major issue on dedicated servers. We should probably look into it and just take that time. So we really wanna.
I'm pretty confident that there's going to be a bunch of time dedicated to it.
I mean, we are pushing for it constantly.
You once described dedicated servers as experimental branch.
Yeah, if you're playing update 8 right now on a dedicated server, you are playing an experimental version of the game on an experimental state of dedicated servers.
Exponentially experimental.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
okay, and because in several discords of several Satisfactory communities, there are channels where players find themselves together, right, to play together on a server. A server is a good thing for them to have because they can play independently of each other, which is, and this is the main reason, right? Because work and kids and everything come in the way. Yep. So, but good to hear that there's a plan for it.
Yeah. The interest is not dead within the studio by any means.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have released. I think. I think we sort of have an obligation at some point to actually release them in a good enough state.
I see. What is it? Will there be more content from Goat Simulator OST for the Boombox?
Gustav Tivander is a genius. So Gustav is one of the founders of Coffeestain, and he was also the composer for a lot of the music. He's also because this guy can do everything apparently. He was also the original world designer of Satisfactory, and part of the creative team for Satisfactory.
And he changed all the tires of every car.
So like I think when Hannah joined, she worked under him, and then he ended up leaving, and then Hannah became the lead sort of the world person. Yeah. So I don't know if there are any plans to add more songs to the Boombox or not, though.
No, I don't think not right now. Maybe we'll add. I don't know if there's music for the Goat Sim 3 maybe that we could potentially add, but I don't know if there's any plans for the original Goat Sim soundtrack.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's good music though.
Yeah.
This German one, I should say to you, danke für das geile Spiel, which translates
Thanks for an amazing game.
Yeah.
All right, no problem. Thank you.
Okay. You know German?
Well, it's similar to Swedish, it sounded to me anyway.
Well, I also studied German.
Oh, there you go.
A long time ago.
Oh, you told me that once. Yeah.
A long time ago.
All right, so thank you. Okay. Okay. In terms of questions, the chat, we don't have any. Do you want to tell something to them? Or, you have the chance now.
Yeah, well, obviously, thanks for
watching. You guys are awesome. Yeah. I love the German community. Yeah. I wish we could interact more, because I love all the German streamers that are out there. Yep. I hang out on the streams. I just wish I understood more. And but it's always a good vibe. Yep. I always get the sense it's always good vibes. Yep. And
I just found the German community to be incredibly passionate.
Yeah, yeah,
and
sure.
like
The German
only-
engineers, guys.
Yeah,
they,
yeah.
we are like focused.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
It is one of our biggest, like, out
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
of, like,
it is.
geographically, it's one of the bigger
Yep,
audiences. So
Yeah, so we always appreciate the support and the feedback, and you know, like we know we get like a lot of feedback and suggestions as well. I think from the German community, and so like really appreciate that because it just shows that you guys care so much. You know,
Yeah.
it's like you all have the game's interests, like best interests at heart. So thank you all for that support for sure. I think the entire studio feels it for sure.
And I mean, there are a lot of people, at least also in my stream, that are really enjoying the game in their, downtime after work, right? Kids are sleeping, and then they just want to, play. For some people, it's the only game they play, right? So you kind of hit the right spot with them, and with the game, which is kind of a Factorio in 3D with more story and a bit more,
Chill too.
Yeah.
Things aren't attacking your base.
yeah.
No base.
Not yet.
Not yet.
The
In update 15.
What about the crab boss, guys? Right?
Oh yeah, what about the crab boss?
Yeah, what about
What about the grab
grab
boss?
boss?
Is he already implemented and we didn't find it yet?
The last thing we've heard is that it's on ice, and so I don't know what
Yeah,
that means
yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
Actually, don't know what
Yeah.
that means. I mean, it is possible that we might not be able to do it, but I hope
Which would be a shame because the
Well,
intention
yeah,
always was to do
yeah,
it.
right.
Yeah, that would be surprising.
And it's in the first trailer, right?
It was.
Yeah, it's weird if I mean, yeah.
It would be weird. But
Yeah.
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 I mean, it's the people that bought the game because they want to find a giant crab, right? They have,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they're gonna
Think
be
about them, please.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. They're like 90% of our audience.
All right. So what is this? They are supporting your work ethics to be transparent with the community and so on. All right. Step in the right direction. Great game.
Thank you.
Okay, guys.
Appreciate it.
So, yeah, I guess there are no more questions. If you, we're kind of finished with the, let's say, little talk. interview.
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you very much for having us.
Sure,
Much
everything.
appreciated.
Yeah,
and
Jace?
thank you for all your support and everything you've done for the
Yeah,
community
yeah,
to
yeah,
help
it's been lovely.
bridge the gap between us
Oh,
and the
sure.
German
No,
community.
no worries.
Much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Jace, good luck with your future endeavors, right?
very much.
And I wanted to ask you, do you have any kind of teaser? I mean, you won't say because you won't put pressure on you, I guess?
Yeah, basically, yeah. But right now, I'm planning on working on a top-down 2D pixel art game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's basically all I'm saying about the game. And I have no idea if it'll work out or not, but I'm just going to try. And I'm going to sort of stream the process a little bit as well and make YouTube videos about it. So if anyone wants to hang out, you
Follow
can.
Jace.
There I am,
Right.
Gem Balls, okay? That's me everywhere on all the social medias. And I don't know, maybe I will fail miserably in front of everyone. Or
It'll
maybe
be
I'll,
fun.
Yeah.
Watch.
I mean, or maybe it'll work out and be a
Yeah.
thing. So we'll see. But me personally, I'm happy either way. I just want the journey. I need to do it. It's going to be fun. I'm happy to fail. I'm happy to succeed. I'm good.
Follow your dreams, man.
I'm following my
Yeah.
dreams. I'm comfy. I'm good. Yeah. So thanks again.
Yeah, thanks again. Really appreciate it. I'm going to end the stream here. Guys, thank you for tuning in today. And then I see you on Tuesday again, and then we will talk a bit more.